What's going on, everybody? It's your boy Tyree. This is the channel Loc'd Pop. Welcome back. And today I want to talk about when we let a zombie back into our life. They're creatures that come back from the dead, that terrorize the living in any way possible, and the only thing that they're good at is consuming that which is alive. So with that understanding in mind, I want to share this quick video with you about not allowing a zombie to enter your life. Basically, in my own situation, I share a little bit about myself with you guys every video if I can. In my life, I was reaching to a point in my marriage, more specifically, that was in the repair stage. We were repairing, we were rebuilding, and things were going good. But there was always that looming feeling that, am I going too fast? Or how far have we gotten in this amount of time? And whenever I thought like that, I understood that I was feeling some type of pain or anxiety from the life that I shared previously. Back when I was a younger man, I was very sensitive to what people thought of me, how people talked to me, how I was treated. And for the most part, I just kind of brushed over it because, I didn't want to stay in that feeling, in those feelings. It felt very stagnant to me. If it was very painful, it was very hard for me to deal with. So the easiest thing for me to do was to kind of brush it off, whatever, save it for another day, which is terribly unhealthy if you didn't already know that. It is terribly unhealthy for you. So you need to work out through your issues. So anyway, back to the story. I was straightening up some things around the house or whatever, and I was listening to a podcast. The podcast was by T.D. Jakes, Bishop T.D. Jakes, if you don't already know him. I mean, who doesn't know that man by now? But listening to a podcast, and in it he was talking about when we have to have, a funeral service for that old version of us who we carry on into our future lives. Now, throughout the podcast, I don't know if you guys, catch or whatever like that, but I found it very powerful, very informative, and it brought me to this point is that you may have a funeral, which is you're putting your old self away. You're taking that old you, that sensitive, broken, kid-hearted version of yourself that carries a lot of that pain and that weight into your future adult life, into your future and adult relationships. And that person that you were, it's still there, still feeling that pain and that hurt, always tugging on you to remind you that, we were hurt like this before, or don't forget that this time these things happened, or keep in mind that as good as you are, things could always go wrong, and that's a terrible mindset to have. And I don't know if anybody who's watching this goes through that same thing, but at a point in my life, that's where I was at. And so the concept of the podcast was to put away that version of you that you don't need anymore in the future. You can't have a better relationship with your spouse. You cannot have a better relationship with anybody if you are still holding on to your past, if you're still hurt about what somebody did to you, what they said to you, how they made you feel. I mean, if you're still holding on to that to an extent, it can stop your process, your progress. And so after the podcast, I felt relieved because I was in the practice of putting away that version of Tyree that was hurt, back in my life. And I was putting away that version of me that was hurt because that same person that was hurt, that version of me that was hurt, was still alive, was still affecting my, 10 years down the line, was still affecting my life in a negative way. I allowed that to happen. That was weakness on my part. So it was time to put that version of me away. And when I did, I felt so much more relieved. It was a pure funeral service. We talked about what that version of me did for me, what he went through, and how his life is now over. And it's no longer his turn at life. It's mine. It's the new version. It's an older me that is that version of me's time to shine. And in order to do that, I had to let the old me go. And we may not recognize that sometimes. We wonder why we carry it on for so long and losing years and time because you're still holding on to it. So bury that old version of you. Okay? And so what I'm talking about now is the zombie, and the zombie is something that is dead that comes back to life. So you might have there might be a word that triggers you, a situation that triggers you, somebody comes back into your life, or maybe you run into a certain personality trait that you remember, and then, what I'm saying, like pops up that zombie again to, hey, I'm back, So, and we remember how to deal with this. And the zombie hangs around, that old version of you hangs around to the point where now you got old feelings again. You got same mentalities and habits that you were going through again. And I'm here to let you know that when that happens, because it will happen, you got to put that zombie back in the hole it crawled out of, because it's only here to do one thing: consume the person that you are today. He or she is only back to destroy and consume that which you've been trying to build. And we're not saying you have to lop the zombie's head off or anything like that, because it's still us in one version or another. But you got to tell that zombie, yo, get back in your hole. Tell that zombie, get back in your hole, because the way that you live life, the way that you've experienced things isn't going to work for me going forward. And I can't go back. I can't go back to that. And I'm telling you, too, you should not go back to that. So if you ever catch those old feelings that are coming up in a situation, try your damnedest. Put that zombie back in the hole. Rebury his ass if you got to. Rebury him. Okay? Stick to what you're doing and keep moving forward. You don't need to no longer look back, Don't look back. Just remember. Have a funeral service or a memorial service. I think that's what it's called. Fine. But don't let that zombie back out of his hole and back into your life and latching on and eating the person that's alive right here today. The world doesn't need that version of you anymore, and neither do you. You don't need that version of you anymore. That's why we're looking at a new version now. If you are looking to get past where you are right now, if you're trying to save your marriage, or you want to be a better father, maybe you're just trying to be a better boyfriend, a better anything. You're a man, you're trying to do something better with your life, you got to let that zombie stay buried, okay? That you can't let him come back. And if it's meant to come back, then it'll be on certain terms, but it won't be to destroy the person you are today.